and welcome back to Yokayi Footy Shorts for the second last time this season. Boy, it's been an absolute season of the ages, and this last round of football has absolutely delivered. My name is Megan Waters, and as always, I'm joined by some absolute legends at this table. Chris Johnson, welcome back, brother.
Oh, what a week of football, Migs. Friday night, Saturday night, geez, it was nail-biting, both of those games, and outstanding to be a part of it and watch it from far. And welcome to Benny as well. You watch it from far. You really liked both games.
I loved both games. You know, we talk about the atmosphere and the energy that finals brings, and this far exceeded expectations, which is exciting because this week's going to be even more exciting, Migsy.
It is indeed. We certainly don't have many games left now. 4 teams, 3 games, and I am very much looking forward to getting stuck into what lies ahead. But before we get there, we want to look at what happened over the weekend, and so we're going to kick that off with the Port Adelaide versus Hawthorn game. And look, I must say, I jumped on the hot bandwagon, and that last quarter, I was screaming at the telly like it was nobody's business. But yeah, they had an outstanding run to get through this season and end up at this point, but it wasn't to be, was it, Jono?
Well, the game lived up to all expectations. It was the pressure of Port Adelaide who were able to bring it, their tackling pressure, and certainly Hawthorn didn't lie down. Ollie Wines, the 30 possessions, 10 tackles as well, and they had this last sort of moment where they had an opportunity to take the game, and it was Sicily who kicked the goal, had a shot on goal, willed himself from the contest, took the mark, and then hit the post, and that was the turning point there. But certainly it was Hawthorn that we liked, but Port Adelaide brought the pressure. But there was one player that really started from the start.
Yeah, Jace Burgoyne had an absolutely amazing game, Jono. I thought he played his role unbelievably all night. Here we go, gets it to ground, gets this one back, and uses the ball. Like, his rebound off half-back all night, and then getting himself, by squeezing the ground, into positions where he can actually affect the scoreboard as well. As a half-back, that's so damaging, and for other teams, it's so hard to defend that as a forward when your half-back is able to do things like that, because you always have to stay on them. The whole game, he just played his role, and I thought he was massive in the momentum for Port Adelaide.
And the other one that I really liked as well was Willie Rioli. He was outstanding. His ability to compose himself with ball in hand when he's got all the defenders coming at him as he gets at the back there and sneaks in a little goal there. But you'll see here, he gets the ball here. At the back, being able to mark it in front of the Hawthorn defender there. But there was a couple of times where he had all the defenders coming at him and he just composed himself and he was able to hit up a target in the middle of the ground. He's outstanding. He had the 15 possessions and 2 goals. He's a real live wire up the forward for Port Adelaide. A
real big game player. But look, I want to touch on, and I don't want to spend too much time on it because it has been a big talking point, but what happened post-match between Port Adelaide coach, of course, Ken Hinkley, and Hawthorn captain James Sicily. What did you two make of all of this?
Well, I mean, as a player myself and, you know, being around that environment, I think that banter is really good. I think it engages the fans and it's really about the entertainment value of it. But as a coach, I think there's a certain point where you've got to understand where the line is. And for Ken, unfortunately, he's stepped over that line as a coach, I think. I reckon that's something that should stay between players. But that was just my opinion. What do you think, John?
Well, I think at the moment, if coaches are going to coach on the interchange gates, I think what they do is once the game's done, they can't go on the ground to go and mingle with the players. I think they just go straight to their race and wait for their players to come there. That way you get away with all this stuff. And, you know, if Ken Hinkley was able to stay in that rule or in that sort of, but this side of the boundary line, that doesn't happen.
Yeah, well, he's certainly copped a pretty hefty fine for all of that. So you'd certainly want to be avoiding spending 20 grand out of pocket, that's for sure. But I want to move on now. GWS versus the Brisbane Lions on Saturday night. What an absolute comeback this was. It was half time and I was thinking the Orange Tsunami absolutely have this one in the bag, but Brisbane Lions fought back and it was a game for the ages.
Well, the Giants had control for the majority of the first two and a half quarters. It was 7-minute mark. With 7 minutes to go in the third quarter where the Lions turned it around. Tom Green was outstanding for the Giants, and then obviously Harry Himmelberg down back were really good in the back half as well. But it was from that 7-minute mark where they just turned it around, the Lions. It was unbelievable how they went about it, and the ball went down there a couple of times in the second half or in that last quarter, and they were able to score, which there was a couple of plays that you really liked in terms of Joe Daniher was outstanding.
Joey Daniher was outstanding. You do know that he's a big game player. He loves the big stage and he loves performing on it. And, you know, to see him really take that mantle and take that role for Brisbane when, you know, it wasn't looking all good. Here we see him against Sam Taylor, one of the greatest defenders in the game at the moment, just getting him done and kicking that goal. We see him on the boundary here, kicking an unbelievable goal, just slotting that when the pressure was on, they were down, they needed something for that extra kick with 3 minutes left. Lohman kicking the ball in here and getting Sam Taylor done again. It was just all night for Joey Daniher, and he was just one of those role players that really stepped up when the Brisbane Lions needed him. And also Jared Strawberry, he was also very good. He actually ended up with 9 touches in the last quarter, and in the back half he ended up with 15. So when the chips were down, I think their leaders really stood up and provided for them.
It's certainly different Lions. Normally they start well and they don't finish so well, but this year they finished well. But Ashcroft, for me, was the one contributor for the Lions for me in this second half. He had 27 touches for the whole game. He almost had 17 touches in the second half of the game, and some of those clearances. And he missed out in the grand final last year, so he's really eager to keep pushing around. And this is going to be a challenge for next week for the Cats when they come up against him. But he was outstanding. He really worked from the front. He led along because they had the tag going to Neil, so he sort of freed himself up at the same time. But he was really good. I like the way Ashcroft went about it, and he's just going to go strength to strength in the next couple of weeks, hopefully.
Well, it certainly makes for a very exciting prelim. Speaking of Friday night at the SCG, Sydney taking on Port Adelaide. Talk me through it, Jono.
Well, the Swans have obviously got the week off, and Port Adelaide are going to really struggle. Obviously, Todd Marshall coming out with the concussion as well. And, the SCG, the Swans play it so well. We've seen them so good last week. And it's always an extra little bit of incentive to finish in the top 4. And both teams did. And, Sydney get the week off, Benny, but certainly Port Adelaide will be coming in this game. That wasn't a great game last time they played at Adelaide Oval. It was all Port Adelaide, but certainly at the SCG, the Swans really set themselves up there. Yeah,
then, last time, as you mentioned, there was 38 shots to 11 Port Adelaide's way, but having the home ground advantage and having the Bloods army behind them, I think, Swans are going to have that extra motivation, not only from the results from the last game, but having that home crowd. And, they've performed so well all year. They've been up the top for the whole season. So I think that they'll be taking a lot of confidence into this on top of having the week off to rest, and we'll see a really strong result.
And Geelong and then Brisbane at the MCG, Saturday Arvo.
That's huge. Last time they met was round 6 this year, and the Cats won by 26 points. But the last time they met in a prelim was in 2004 at the MCG, where the Lions were able to get up. I played in that game, Betty. It was a long travel for us, but I think at the moment it's a real even contest, and the Lions really need to start and finish well as they did. But the Cats with the week off, they certainly come into this game favourites.
I think they do. And, Brisbane, if they can come out, like you said, Jono, and start on, which has been a bit of an issue for them, they'll be really good. And I think, just looking ahead, you've got Joe Daniher, as we just mentioned before, with his highlights. Jezza Cameron, we've seen what he can do. Both big game forwards. So it's going to be exciting watching those two go head to head.
And I now would like to highlight something that's been very special, particularly for me as a Territorian. Shawnee Burgoyne has been up in Darwin recently with the Premiership Cup on the Premiership Cup tour, which has been great to see. So let's check it out.
Be part of the Toyota AFL Premiership Cup tour is an unbelievable opportunity for myself to get out in the community, come to Darwin and give the people the opportunity not only to see the Premiership Cup on TV, but to touch it and have photographs with it and give the kids, something to aspire to. Because as players and little kids we once were, that's the dream, is to win an AFL Premiership and to hold that cup. Well, I've been lucky enough to lift the cup up 4 times. Some great memories with 2 different teams.
That vision is just making me feel warm just watching it, looking at my hometown in Darwin there. That's pretty much it from us for another week of Yokayi Footy Shorts. But I do want to say, make sure you check out the AFLW as well, because there are plenty of games to keep you entertained across the whole weekend. Thank you for joining us for another week. We will be back for grand final week next week. So we will see you then. Thanks, brothers.
For the best and most comprehensive wrap of each round, Access All Areas is the show for you, unpacking all the action and dissecting the big news from each round. Access All Areas thanks to Crypto.com, Mondays on AFL.com.au and the AFL Live app.